Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Women Have Needs Too. You might recognize our guest. She's been here before, and we're having her back because we have so much to share with Helen, and Helen has so much to share with us. So today, we're speaking with Helen. By the way, Helen, I just was thinking about something. You live in South Florida, don't you?
I do. It's a little bit chilly today, but yes, I do.
Chile in South Florida. Well, I wanted to check in with you because I have my cousin's daughter is coming down to South Florida and she's looking for a place to stay. And don't you have like a spare bedroom or a couch or something?
You know what, Linda? I get asked this a lot. And it's funny you should mention it today of all days, because what I want to talk about today is setting boundaries. And this is one of the things
So
that
the
comes,
answer's no.
well, let me just do this for you, okay? People like me get asked that question a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the audience can resonate with people saying, can you go pick something up for me? Can you do this extra job, at work? Can you, and people speak to them with all sorts of tones of voices and everything. And I just did a blog and a little video on this, which is on my website. And it's how do people know they're crossing your boundaries if you haven't told them what your boundaries are?
So how do we? How do we set boundaries? How do we, I mean, because I was joking about my cousin, but
Yeah.
but you're right, because a lot of times I don't know how to say no, and it's because I don't know how to set those boundaries. So how do I set those boundaries?
Well, it's a saying no. So there's two different things going on here. There's setting your boundaries and there's being able to say no. And a lot of people can't say no. And there's a whole list of things for that, low self-esteem, low confidence, people pleaser, all of these things go on because they want to say yes and they want to be liked and they want to be popular, but really they want to say no, right? So there's that section, and then there's a section about your boundaries. And in the workplace, your boundaries are when your boss or your clients or your customers or your colleagues are all want this, want this, want this. And you go, yes, yes, okay, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. And then they expect that ongoing. So now you find yourself that you're doing everything and other people are doing nothing. So you have to be able to recognize the boundary of time. So if you're asked to say after hours, right, okay, you set the boundary immediately and say, I've got a husband to get home to, I've got a partner, I've got children, but you don't need to make excuses. And that's one of the things I wrote down. Don't make excuses, right? No, I'm not staying after 5.
You
No,
don't
I'm
you
not
don't
staying.
owe anybody an explanation. I can't do it.
Yeah,
Um,
you
and
can't
then
do
is
it.
there a follow up if I have some notice next time? I can make arrangements.
Well, I was just going to say it's how you communicate these
Okay.
boundaries. So you've got to be able to communicate them in a way that's not through anger, not through fear, not through being disrespectful. However, the person can disrespect you very easily because you're not respecting yourself, right? And then this is how we get into and we spoke about this before, this is how we get into the extremes of domestic violence, of people being abused in certain ways. And it's like no means no, right? And that's the end of it. I don't have to explain why I'm not going to finish this report. I'm not going to explain why I can't have your niece's boyfriend's husband's sister's girlfriend to come and live in Florida, right? In my apartment. You
Right.
don't have to explain. You just have to say, no, it's not convenient. It's not what I do.
It's not
I
going to
don't
work out.
it's just not going to work out. However, you can say, okay, Linda, I can't have your nieces, nephews, whatever, to my apartment. However, I have friends who have hotels. I've got friends who have Airbnb. I've got a friend who does have an apartment. Let me put you in touch with those. So it's the way you communicate things. It's not just no. I've got to say no.
And you don't have to feel guilty, because I know a lot of times you might feel guilty when you're saying no, but you have to remember
Yes.
why you're saying no, right?
Right. And it all comes from self-confidence, self-esteem, and respecting and loving yourself. Right. So if you're confident in yourself, you then can be confident in communicating with other people. So, some of the things, you know, you have to be consistent also. So, Linda, no, I can't have this cousin, but next month you go, oh yeah, I'll have that cousin, right? You can't, you got to be consistent, because people, it's just like having a fence around your house or a door coming into your apartment. Mm-hmm. Can't cross the threshold unless you open the door, right? So how are you opening this door? Are you opening the door to the same person all of the time? Or are you closing the door sometimes and opening it other times? They have no idea. They don't know. They get confused.
Right.
It's like you've got children. It's like when you have a child and you're teaching a child something and you're disciplining them on something, and then one time you let them get away with it, and the next time you don't, or this time you can eat your vegetables, that time you can't eat your vegetables. Kids go, make your mind up.
Confused. It causes confusion. I think it's interesting, because I think when I was younger, it was yes, 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 yes. And I was afraid to set those boundaries, maybe because I wanted everybody to like me. And so, yeah, the answer was yes, 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 yes. But you're right. When you build that self-esteem and you have more respect for yourself, and you understand it's about respecting yourself,
Yes.
it becomes easier to say no, and you have become a better communicator throughout the years, either through trial and error because of survival.
Right.
It becomes easier to communicate what those boundaries are. But let's just say we're talking to people who are either have not learned how to set those boundaries or are afraid to set those boundaries. Are there any kind of guidelines that we can share with them today?
Yeah, it's first of all, you got to recognize, because you mentioned about as you were growing up, you tend to model the people around you. So if your mother or your father's a people pleaser, or your grandmother or whoever is influential in your life, then you tend to model that. Again, and I always use this a lot. It's communication with yourself and others. So how are you communicating to yourself? So it's understanding, who am I and what am I trying to be, and do I even know who I am? We don't get to that point, and all of us get to that point at a different point in our lives.
Right.
Sometimes we're 10 and we figure it out. Sometimes we're 15, and sometimes we're 90 and still haven't got it figured out.
Yeah.
So it's being able to be in that moment where someone says something to you. How does it make you feel? Right? So, Linda, go put the kettle on, or that was very British.
You can't help it. You're British.
Go put the kettle on.
Go put the kettle on. I'll try that tonight. Honey, put the kettle on.
Exactly. We don't have them in this country. So, like, if consistently, can you pick me up after school? The young adult child says, right? Okay, because I don't feel like walking today. So, mom or dad goes, sure, because it was convenient at the time. Next day, well, it's not convenient because you've got a meeting, and now you got this battle going on. So how does it make you feel that now you're letting your child walk home from school, or get the bus, which is how it was set up in the first place, but the child is stretching the boundary. It's how it makes you feel. And the other way around of, if you're asked by your boss or something, does it make you feel less than? Because it's like, well, type all this up and do this, and I want it done in 20 minutes. Right? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, like you're already set up for failure.
Right, but it makes you feel disrespected, it makes you feel uncomfortable, it makes you feel under pressure. So when you recognize that feeling, it's like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. How do I change this feeling? So therefore, it's my reaction to his action caused me to feel this way.
Right.
So I have to change my reaction to their action.
Right. But a lot of people, what they do is they get angry and are miscommunicating out of the anger when
Right.
sometimes I mean, you're going to tell me because I'm just thinking out loud here. I'm thinking instead of addressing it when you're angry, it might come off wrong. Maybe it's time to take a breath and get your
Yes.
bearings, and then either 10 or 15 minutes later or the next day, go
Yes.
into that office or go into that friend or child and say, okay, we need to discuss what happened yesterday because I'm not okay with it because this, and this. I mean, you tell me what's the best way.
No, that's exactly right. And it's the same with marriages, relationships, couples, partners, in business and in personal lives. All this, it's anyone you come in contact with, your friends, everybody. It's like, you go out for a drink with your friends and you've had 2 glasses of wine and you don't want to have a third. And then they talk you into having a third. Like, what would be a problem with us, but they talk you
Unless I'm driving, then I shouldn't have that third.
No, exactly. No, we're not driving in this case
Okay,
scenario.
good.
We're on a Zoom, socially distanced wine night. We're being PC here. So,
Yes.
but you're talked into things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And the reason that you are is because now you're a people pleaser.
Right.
So you have to recognize the things in yourself and then communicate that. So you learn to either take a breath and communicate, or like you just said, leave it until you've calmed down, you're not angry or fearful anymore, because sometimes it takes a bit of courage to say what you've got to say, especially if it's a boss or if it's a disrespectful partner,
Right.
or if it is a sibling or a spouse or even a mother, a father, a grown adult,
Right.
or adult children. So it's how do you the timing is everything, and practice it.
Yes.
Right? It's when you want to send that email out to someone, you reread it 25 times before you press send.
Yeah, you don't type it up and hit send. Type it up,
Exactly.
think about it, read it a few times. And
Yes.
what about like, let's just say it's a boss situation, and that can be touchy, because you don't want to offend your boss.
Right.
Do you recommend writing a list and writing things down to what you're going to say the next day or what you're going to say in an hour when you scheduled a meeting with the boss?
Yes, and have your bullet points.
Yeah.
Right? And don't go into a long explanation of the whole thing. Just say, the way things worked out yesterday is not how I would like them moving forward. I would prefer if you, and then say what it is that you would prefer. And that's it. Because again, it's communication. Men communicate differently than women, right? So
Yes.
this is Women Have Needs Too. So you've got a woman-based audience, mainly, I would suspect. So women's brains are different to men's, and that's an actual fact, okay? So if you're talking to a male counterpart, you want to keep it short.
Yeah, they like bullet points.
They like bullet points. A woman, however, you can probably get away with less bullet points. However, women are in business a lot more, let's get to the point, let's get on with it.
Right.
Again, it depends on your, if you're an A type, if you're, all that sort of stuff. So you want to be able to make sure that you understand how you feel, how that communication made you felt, and what you want to achieve by having the conversation. And it boils down to knowing yourself. That's what it boils down to, and loving and respecting you. And for a lot of females, that's a big thing. It's a big
Well, and I think going to that person, whether it's a boss or spouse or your significant other, if you go to them in an adult manner with your bullet points, and I really believe you gain a lot more respect doing it that way, don't you?
Yes, you do. However, remember, everything is actions, interactions, reactions, right? So there's going to be a reaction to what you are proposing. So you have to manage your reaction to their reaction, right?
You
So
said
you
actions, reactions,
air, actions, interactions, reactions.
interactions.
Yeah. Actions, interactions, reactions.
Got it.
So what you want to do is you want to, whatever they say back, you stay within your boundary, what it is you're expecting.
Right.
And then if the conversation's not going the way you want it, then you just go, can I leave that to sit with you for a little bit?
Yeah.
And once you've mulled it over, perhaps we can have another conversation. Because now they're dealing with their ego, their models, their programs. And so that's not your responsibility now.
No.
Okay? Your responsibility is your boundary, and you've mentioned your boundary.
Right.
How they react to you setting your boundary is not your issue, it's theirs.
I want to talk about something, and I don't know if we have time during this episode, and if not, maybe we'll do it in another episode, but maybe we can at least touch on it today, because I notice a lot of parents just doing whatever their kids ask them to do. And that, I can understand, okay, sometimes, but sometimes I'm looking at it, I'm like, who's the parent?
Yes.
And the parent is not setting the boundaries, and they're not setting up realistic boundaries for this child to enter the world. Because not everybody is just going to let you walk all over them. And I literally watch parents getting trampled on by some of these kids. And I'm talking, they could be 4-year-olds or they could be 14-year-olds. I've seen it.
Yeah. Yes. It's, you got to look at how we've evolved and how the generations have moved forward. And we've come from different generations, and the baby boomers let their children have everything because they came from a place of lack. So those children, and who are now adults, never got told no. They always got told yes.
Yeah.
Because we came from a place of lack. So then when they had children, what they didn't understand was that they couldn't say yes because they didn't have the means to say yes. Because what the younger generation coming out of college don't understand is it takes a little while to build up a nest egg to be able to say yes.
Right.
So what's happened is over the years, and also if you look at the model of society, there's a lot of single parenting, and I mean from both sides, male and female.
True.
There's a lot of males that bring up children. And so you've got that aspect, and you've got the aspect of you need to have both parents working to be able to survive today. Consequently, children, they're coming from a place of guilt.
Right.
So yes, you're absolutely right. They do not set the boundaries for children. And what makes their life easier is a child having a boundary.
So can we,
They thrive on
I
boundaries.
wanted you to touch on that. So yes, let's touch about why it's important to set those boundaries for your children.
Because they know what is expected of them.
And they appreciate boundaries because they like to know what their boundaries are, correct?
Right. And that's how they grow, and that's how they learn. You know, it's the same as pets. It's the same principle, right? You give your dogs and cats boundaries also, right? Okay. So with your children, it's the same thing. You have respect. You teach them respect. You teach to have their own thoughts, to be able to debate, to be able to have their opinions,
Right.
but to have But to have a lot of children have their opinions, but they're opinionated.
Yes. And
So
it's
the need
okay
for,
to be an independent, it's good to be an independent thinker,
absolutely, yes,
but you also have to have respect for the other person. Your thinking and my thinking could be totally
right,
different and off base, but we have respect for each other to have that different thinking.
exactly. And you know, there's a great book, Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Love it. It's one of my favorites.
Exactly. And he always one of the 12 principles is see the things from other person's point of view.
That's right.
So you have to, and it's when you're setting your boundaries, it's look at the other person's point of view as to why they're treating you that way. What are you doing to make them treat you that way? Now,
Right.
I'm going to put a caveat here
Okay.
because
And then we got to wrap it up.
yeah, when it comes to domestic violence, that's not, you didn't deserve that.
That's
Okay?
right. That's right.
I'm talking about everyday interactions.
Right. Exactly. Simple
You know,
boundaries,
right.
not the abuse boundaries.
Right. So to wrap it up, communicate for understanding, right? Okay. And don't expect people treating you badly. And put yourself in a position where you respect and love yourself, because the energy that comes out of you will then automatically let other people love and respect you.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Helen. You always give us this plethora of information to ponder in our coming day.
Regurgitate.
Yes. And thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. And we're going to have you on again because we have so many more subjects to cover with you. But we
Millions.
will see you down the road. But thank you so much. And thank you, viewers, for joining us today. Women have needs too. Right now, I need to set boundaries for myself, show others that I do respect myself, and I need them to respect me. So before we go, one of my new shirts, Women Have Needs Too. Right now I need chocolate. Now sometimes there's just no boundaries for chocolate. Just pour it on. So visit our website and check out the new stuff. Thank you again so much, Helen. Love you and love you. Take care and we'll see you soon.